Well, hello. It's wonderful to have Stefan Kaminski with us today. Hello, here on EWTN.
Thank you very much.
We're delighted to have you here because you have a really exciting project up in the Ribble Valley, and I want everybody to hear about it. So could you tell us a little bit about your role with the Christian Heritage Centre, and then we'll hear a little bit about the course that is going on that I think our listeners will be really interested in.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for this opportunity as well. So I run the Christian Heritage Centre, which is a small independent charity based in the Ribble Valley, as you say. We have a base on the historic Stonyhurst College estate, which is a beautiful, very historic setting in Lancashire. It's one of the sort of the great stately homes that form part of a network of Catholic family hubs in Lancashire that historically kept the Catholic faith alive in this part of the country. And so it has a real history behind it. And of course, the college's own institution goes back to 1593 on the continent during the Reformation era. And the stories of the school and the Stonyhurst estate come together at the end of the 1700s. So we're set in this context of great sort of Catholic history, the stories of martyrs, of priests, of lay people who gave their lives for the faith. And in that context, we are running we have a residential facility where the charity now runs a selection of courses, of conferences, of retreats, aimed at lay people and clergy around the UK to support their faith, to offer them some ongoing theological formation and spiritual nourishment.
Wonderful. And you have some relics and all kinds of interesting artefacts to do with Catholic heritage that you've just mentioned at the centre, is that right?
So we don't have them they're under the care of the college. So the relics belong to the college and to the Jesuit province. So the charity was originally founded to assist the college in caring and preserving and making public access to those relics. So the college has a small museum of its own, which the charity helped to raise funds for, where some of those relics are on a rotating display. But yes, it's an incredible collection of relics. We go back to our Lord himself with a relic of the crown of thorns that was given by King Louis IX to Mary, Queen of Scots. And then through to some of the great martyrs, there are relics of St. Thomas More, including his personal crucifix, which he wore under his hair shirt, to the rope that bound Edmund Campion to the hurdle as he was dragged across the streets of London to Tyburn for his execution, to a ring belonging to St. John Fisher, to a corporal that was used by a number of the martyrs who celebrated Mass on it at the Tower of London, where ironically they had more freedom to celebrate Mass than elsewhere. And then a whole trove of other prayer books, paintings, including the prayer book of Mary Queen of Scots, also of Elizabeth, the wife of King Henry VII, last Plantagenet king, and to that has been added curiosities and items from all around the world by the Jesuit missions. So the collection's an incredible story of Catholicism in England, especially over the last 400 years, and also further abroad.
And particularly at this moment when it's so much in the news about what's happening in the public imagination and in politics to our Christian heritage, it's so important to have these real objects to remind us of our Catholic history. And particularly in the light of the course that you're offering that we're going to talk about today, which I'm very inspired by. It seems to be called, is it called Shape Tomorrow with Faith? And it's aimed at young leaders in year 12. And you want to reach out and give them a training that will prepare them to represent the faith, but also to live it in the public square with, integrity and courage. Tell us a little bit about what you'll be offering these young people and then perhaps how they can apply.
Absolutely. Yes, that's very much the idea, is to help to shape those young people who, through whatever career path they're going to take, want to engage in that public discussion in the public forum around, what society should look like, around the common good, and around the vision that we have for the human person. And as you say, that imagination has changed drastically over the last few centuries, and is very much at a place that is quite far removed, I would say, from what Christianity holds as the good for society and of the human person individually. So the thrust of the program is intellectual at one level, because it is about equipping the students with the rationalization for what the church has to offer, the rationalization on top of which then the light of divine revelation, brings that to its fullness and enlightens us further. And it's not just a matter of blind public faith. That's what we're very keen for the students to understand. It's not something that we have.
This is not fideism.
Exactly,
yeah.
that the old, man dressed in white in the Vatican has decreed that this is what it should be. It's something that emerges, that has roots in the Western classical philosophical tradition, that, the best thinkers, certainly in Western culture, have sort of slowly put together, that has developed over those centuries, and then that has been brought to its fullness in the light of Christian revelation, and further understood by the great minds of the West, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, and coming to our own tradition, St. Thomas More and others. So it's really, first of all, about forming or reforming their imagination, their understanding of what it is that we think, we see when we say society and the human person and flourishing, and then giving them also the tools to accompany that engagement. So there's an emphasis on media training, on speaking to the public, on engaging publicly. There is an emphasis on understanding, having the skills to help to change that culture, to influence, to lobby, and then digging further down. Obviously, that builds on integrity, as you said. So there are workshops on the virtues, on what the virtues are, and how they help us to grow, on how we can do that. And then, more important,
so it's very holistic.
Very holistic. And then at the heart of all that is the spiritual dimension. So the whole experience is framed not just by the workshops, by the lectures, by the team building activities, and so on, but by a regular rhythm of prayer and liturgy, immersing them in the tradition of the church, the Mass, Eucharistic adoration, the Rosary, the Office, introducing them to a sort of light version of the Office, the Psalms.
Amazing.
Engaging with the sacraments, and a short sort of one-day silent retreat towards the end of the course. And it's been very interesting to see how they have really grasped how all of those elements come together. And at the end of the program, some of them have said the most important thing, the most valuable thing was that silent sort of day at the end of it. Really sort of coming to the core of the program.
So that program lasts while they are in sixth form for a year, and there are modules during school holidays. Is that right?
That's right. It's the idea is that we wanted to offer this to students before they go to university, so that they have an additional boost, an additional sort of grounding when they step into that sort of more secular, I suppose, environment. And maybe they're thinking about joining a CatSoc, or they're getting into debates that perhaps are less friendly to being a Catholic. And so we're inviting applications for students who are in year 12 now. And then we offer them a 6-day module in the summer at the end of year 12, which will be in August here at Stonyhurst. And then 2 other shorter modules of 4 days each in the October half term, and then in the February half term. So they're finished well before the A-level starts. And then they've got that behind them to take with them to university.
And I bet that helps them build a supportive community of young people, like-minded, raring to go, getting courage from each other. Because I know I have a very dynamic young godson, and he's very active in, political activities, but he's finding, of course, that they're not engaging like an adequate anthropology or any philosophical roots in the faith. And he has to be immersed in an environment where Catholic values are not mentioned at all. In fact, every value is antithetical practically to the Catholic values. And something like this would be of enormous value to him, and doubtless to countless young people. So who are you advertising this to? Is it sixth forms around the country? Is it available? Are there bursary schemes available for those who might not be able to afford it? What's the cost implication as well?
So yes, our advertising is predominantly to Catholic schools, because that's where we're plugged into, whether directly or through diocesan education services or their communications channels. But we're open to an application really from anyone who is, I suppose the basic prerequisite is that they're Christian in their mindset, and they want to engage, seriously, both at the level of the heart and the mind, with the Catholic tradition and the Catholic faith. So yes, we want applications from any student who has a certain willingness and ability to engage with the intellectual, the philosophical, the theological concepts underneath, who is committed to a relationship, to deepening their relationship with God, whatever that currently is or looks like. But again, that openness is key. and then who wants that to wants to bring that into their public life, whatever that looks like, into their discussions, as their little way of contributing towards influencing, towards reshaping society as a Christian society. In terms of the bursaries, there is a cost implication, obviously. The course costs us, the program costs us £1,500 per student to run, which is incredibly good value if you think about that. Includes 4 days, 14 days of full-time board lodging, tuition with high-quality university lecturers and all the input and logistics into it. But finances are absolutely not a prerequisite. We have a network of donors, and we take on our responsibility to fundraise so that students, when they apply, they simply apply with whatever level of contribution they can make to the program, and we take students on the merit of their application, their interest, their sincerity, their personal statements, their references. In order to apply, they can go to christianleadershipformation.com. That's the program's webpage.
christianleadershipformation.com.
Yeah. And on there's a link to download the application form. They need to fill that in, sign that with their parents, submit the form with a short 500-word statement just explaining why they're interested in the course, what they hope to get from it, and then we'll follow up with them and their 2 referees they have to nominate.
And at the end of the course, they're going to have quite a lovely ceremony, aren't they? There's a certificate. I think it's backed up by St Mary's University, and they receive them in Westminster Hall, this is just going to be inspiring for them.
Absolutely. Well, I hope so very much. Yes, St Mary's are one of our very valued partners. Have been really supportive, and they contribute to the program as well. So yes, they validate, as it were, the certificate. They put their name to it as well, so the students have a piece of paper as well to show for their efforts. And we chose Westminster Hall. Obviously, it's a site where St Thomas More stood trial for his faith, which he was adamant didn't contradict his role as a public servant. And we get a Catholic, speaker, politician, leader to present them with their certificates there at the end of the 3 modules.
Wonderful. And how many years has this course run so far?
So we've just run it twice over. It's quite a nascent project.
Ah, right.
So we just finished last February with our last cohort, who again we had fantastic feedback from. I think the biggest criticism we've had really has been, it's been not enough time. I would have liked this to go longer, or it was too intense.
Yeah, it sounds like something that could really grow. I mean, I think there's a lot of room for these kind of missionary and intellectually rooted courses to equip our young people before they go to university, because let's not critique Catholic schools, but nonetheless I think there's space for these things to grow. I mean, I've taught out in Canada at mission schools that provide and equip students before they go to university, and even during and after university, and those courses themselves have grown into 1, 2 and sometimes 3-year programs, because there's such a need to root young people in an adequate anthropology to stand up to the challenges that we're meeting. And Pope St John Paul II, that was his big rallying cry, and things have only become more serious since then, haven't they? So we're absolutely delighted to hear that you're running this course, and that there were more of them. So we look forward to hearing how the next one goes, and thank you so much for telling us all about it. Just lastly though, is there anything for adults of an older age to attend during the coming year that they could apply to? Where do we find out about that?
Absolutely, yes. If you go to christianheritagecentre.com, you'll find all our events listed. So at the moment, the Leadership Formation Programme is the only event that we offer actually to students, children under 18. The rest of our events are there for adults. Some of them are exclusively for clergy, the retreats that we run for them. Otherwise, they're open to any adult in the UK. So we have retreats, we have summer courses coming up. We have an iconography course that we run once a year, although that's already fully subscribed. I think the next retreat is actually specifically though for young adults. Again, it's focused around the questions of that adequate anthropology, understanding the nature of male and female, the challenges to that in contemporary society, and the Church's wisdom for that. So that's in May. We've got a more general retreat for adults over the weekend with the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal at the end of June. We've got a summer course in August looking at the nature, the understanding of God from a philosophical, a Christian and an Islamic traditions, as well, and comparing those a little bit to
interesting,
which again is not an irrelevant topic today, and many more. But
absolutely. I think, there seems to be a bit of a springtime, again, of the Catholic faith in the light of the article in the Telegraph recently about how the Catholic denomination is about to become the largest Christian denomination in Britain. It's exciting to see that these courses and these projects are, ready to go and ready to train people to take their place in the public square. Never been needed more urgently than now, in the light of the attack on freedoms and the attack on the human person. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. So it's the Christian Heritage Centre is where they can look for formation, is that right?
Yeah.
As adults, but just tell us once more the web address for applying to your course.
ChristianLeadershipFormation.com. You'll find the application form there.
Thank you. Stefan, it's been lovely to talk to you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you.